ahead and get things started. Welcome to our first department briefing, October 13th, 2020. And I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer, and she will lead us through this adventure.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I'm going to start with going through introductions with everyone who has been admitted into the Zoom room. We have myself, Jennifer Byerly, Kevin Schutte, Patti McGuire, Patti McLean, Sharon Trask, Diedrich Allen, Diane Zorn, Lisa Frazier, Lieu Kim, Mackenzie Smith, Randy Netherland, Travis Adams, and Tom Davis. Is there anyone that I missed?
Oh, I'm in Patty's seat.
Oh, and Vicky. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this first departmental budget workshop over to Vicky and Patty in the assessor's office to talk about their PLRs, or their project level requests for their 2021 budget.
Okay, so we're going to start with number one. We reduced full-time employees from 14 to 13.
Oh, before you go on, I'm going to share my screen really quick so everybody can see what you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, now everybody should be able to see the assessor's screen or budget worksheet.
Okay.
And this is on the expenditure side. There's a sheet for revenues and then one for expenditures.
Revenues was just 7,000. It didn't change from the year before.
Okay, thank you.
So our first is line 10. Reduced full-time employees from 14 to 13. And in addition to that, it'll reduce benefits down below. Okay. Number two, we're going to rename this position to analyst. That's for Ida Mae Jensen. And that's the increase of 3,000 per year. Number three, Verizon cellular service at $2,200 per year to support the data cloud system that we purchased last year. And we are on schedule for beta testing in a month, I believe. End of November. End of November. They're not as far behind as we were afraid they would be because of the COVID and the closures. And then number four, line 46, began at $2,500 for copier maintenance, which is the same as last year. We added an additional $3,600 for the QLES system, our portion of it. And then $3,182 is the annual payment for data cloud. I did not know what to budget for motor pool lease, but we have ER&R vehicles still in our budget that will go towards the lease. So those are the only changes that we had.
So
we'll
really
have some
quick, do you mind if I interrupt really quick, Vicky?
No, go ahead.
So on the ER&R vehicles, those were taken out, the $23,540 in 2020's budget.
Mm-hmm.
That was removed. And then the motor pool, the blue lines over here, those amounts were added into your budget.
Right, but there's nothing in the lease line, number 41.
That's because it's in the capital lease portion down here.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. Just wanted to correct that portion of it. Sorry.
Makes sense. Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
So the only other change that we will have, of course, are two of our appraiser positions are going to be much less of a budget for next year. We have 2 trainees beginning next week. So those will reduce another 20,000 per line.
And I just wanted to point out too that you were one of the few departments that actually have negative. I think you're actually the only department that has a negative PLR request.
Yeah.
Total of 70,682. So your overall budget requests was 1,418,545, and the budget level 3 is 1,489,227, with that difference being the 70,682. So
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I have just a quick question, and first off, appreciate all the work you guys have done on your budget side this year to come in at the number that you did. But with the queuing system, the increase there, is that just the ongoing fee for it, and is any of that being offset by CARES Act funding?
You'd have to ask Mr. McGuire, but I believe that is our portion, and we put it in the budget, not necessarily for certain going forward with it. I think after the building opens, I don't know that we'll need it, but Patti could answer that for you.
And I can answer that too, Commissioner.
Great.
So the maintenance portion is for next year, so it's not supported by the CARES Act for next year's maintenance. So the maintenance for this year, for 2020, which runs into next year, but so the capital and then the maintenance portion, or the lease and the maintenance portion for this year are funded out of CARES. Mm-hmm. But this is for next year.
And when does that start next year? When is the?
I believe it's July, but Patti McGuire might be able to.
I think it's June 15, but roughly July.
Okay. And if as Vicki had mentioned, if that goes away, things reopen as normal and that goes away, is there any penalty for dropping that service? Or
no, it's an annual year by year thing.
Gotcha.
It would simply turn off.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Well, that was easy.
One more, the rename to analyst as per Frank, does that mean that this is approved?
Frank Pinter approved it per email. We were trying to negotiate it during 2020, and since she's been doing that job, and then he emailed and said we should do it this way.
Okay.
Would you mind just forwarding that to us? Or
no, I don't mind at all.
Great.
So this might be a similar question, but is a rename and a reclassification, those are,
I think, basically the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But we haven't approved it yet, but Frank is recommending it, is what you're saying.
Yes. I'll send you the whole email string.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this point, commissioners, do you want to make any decisions, or are we going to have everyone present and then make decisions? How do you want to go about the PLR?
But if I may, what I would prefer is the things that we consider absolute maintenance, like we did last year and the year before, we agree on that, but anything that's a PLR should hold off until the end, is my opinion and my hope.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay, so with that being said, is there anything that you would like to go ahead and move over into maintenance right now?
Do you have any recommendations?
I would recommend doing the position, removing the position. If the assessor's office is recommending that, then definitely doing that. And then I'm not sure on the reclass request.
Yeah, I don't think that's, I think that's still a PLR. But what about the cellular service of Verizon Data Cloud? I think that's something that'd be necessary, and that should maybe be maintenance.
I agree.
I would,
Okay, that's how this works. I don't think that was Sharon.
No, but well said, Vicky.
I would say, you know, everything in my opinion would be acceptable, except for the position that we haven't taken action on and briefed on.
Because I think the increase due to their portion of the queuing, we already agreed to that, didn't we, as a commission? So that's maintenance.
Yeah, we did.
So I think the only thing that would be outstanding from this would be the reclass.
Okay.
I would agree.
Okay, great. I will get everything except for the reclass at this time moved over. And we'll revisit that once you've had a chance to review the emails and answer any other questions that you have.
Thank you very much.
It was difficult. Thanks, Vicky.
But you made it so easy.
All right, thanks. So we have about 17 minutes until the auditors. So should we?
I'm ready to go if you want to just keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going if we can.
Okay.
Being ahead of schedule doesn't seem like a bad thing.
Never.
Okay, so I started a new share to the auditors PLR worksheets, and I'm going to make sure that nobody else has joined our meeting since last time.
Looks the same to me.
Okay. Okay, great. Then with that, we have the auditors 2021 budget workshop. So take it away, Patty, please. Patti McGuire.
So our first PLR is for a county-produced voters pamphlet for the primary and general election in 2021. When the 2020 legislature authorized fair share, what we've called fair share funding among the auditors' highest legislative priority for 25 years is to get the legislature to pay its fair share of election costs. They finally did that during 2020. And so they will be paying in even numbered years the state share of election costs rather than having the county pay that. The one string attached is a requirement that all counties produce a county voters pamphlet for every election. That goes into effect July 1 of 2021. And so we will be required to produce a county voters pamphlet for the primary and general election in 2021. The good news is we don't expect there to be any county measures on that ballot, and so we will bill out those costs to the junior districts that are having elections. So this is a at least in odd numbered years without county measures on the ballot, this will be a wash on the state budget, where the income that we get from billing the junior districts will offset the costs. Do you want me to take questions as I go through each of these, or go through all of them and then get to do questions? I'm happy to do either.
I'm good with going through all of them.
Okay. The next one I'm going to introduce and just have Leo talk about for a second is transition planning in financial services. As you remember, I came to the commission earlier this year to start a transition process to replace Paige Hansen, who's retiring in 2022, and that was not accepted. So we've come back with what I would describe as a complete minimalist approach of hiring a replacement for Paige in beginning October 1, 2021. So there'd be about a 7-month overlap. Leo, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Good morning. As Patti said, one of our financial analysts will tentatively be retiring around May 2022. That position does accounts payable, public disclosure, grants, general ledger, revenue auditing and review, EOC meetings and reporting, and a multitude of other duties. It very much is a key position for the county, and all of the financial analysts are really invaluable to me. So we would like to start transition planning in the third quarter of 2021, as Patti said, by hiring a full-time position to transition. That way it would give us time to train on the year-end duties, position duties, and the beginning of the new year. And it's just a good business practice. It's good internal control. It's recommended by the state auditor's office, and quite frequently, as I'm reading through the audit findings, I'll see that the reason for the audit findings, they'll say we had a loss of a key position, and they didn't have transition planning. And the state auditor's office, they see that so often, they're kind of getting, in my opinion, they're kind of getting tired of that. So I think it's just a good idea to have a good transition planning. It's just a good idea.
And I think the one thing I would like to point out about this is that the one thing this new hire will not be a part of, just because of timing, is preparation of the preliminary budget, which is obviously an important feature of my office. But we are trying to be as thrifty as possible and as minimalist as possible, while still being responsible for our fiduciary responsibilities to the county. The third item is the QLIS system. Vicki and Patti talked about that again. $3,600 in my budget, split between licensing and recording, the two functions in my office that use the QLIS system. I think you will see that again in the treasurer's office, and obviously either those all need to be funded or none of them need to be funded, and that's your call. Number 4 is licensing program expenses. One of the things that has happened in our office being closed for so long, and now reopening with the QLIS system, is people's behavior has changed, and people are doing a lot of their renewals of licensing, of tabs and titles online rather than in person. What that's meant for us is our postage costs have gone up, because rather than just sliding them across the counter, we have to put them in an envelope and put postage on it. So the good news here is that our revenues, our licensing revenues, are way up, but there is the net effect of all this. We've also done some just juggling of costs between lines, just to be more realistic. But the big item here is a plus 3,000 in the postage costs, and just because we're spending a lot more on postage than we anticipated.
But Patty, that's based on real numbers and everything, right? So that's
yeah,
that's solid maintenance, right?
Yeah, I mean, this yeah, we have no choice. I mean, we have blown through our postage budget. I mean, we are beyond our postage budget for the year today in 2020, our full year budget. But so we don't have much choice. And I have no reason to believe that people's behavior is going to shift back when, I mean, some will, but I think the vast majority are going to see how easy it is to renew online rather than come here and come visit my staff. And so we expect this to continue, and we really don't have much choice. Number 5 is shifting, something we've talked about before, and I think it is shifting the funding of the archiving manager, recording archiving, or if I could talk, recording and archiving manager. Her salary is currently split 50-50 between current expense and the auditor's O&M fund. This is something the state auditor has looked at this year, and we expect, and she asked, Chelsea asked us for a time assessment on what activities are truly archiving and what are not, and I think being being expansive in the definition of what is archiving, we came out at about 5%, yet we're charging 50% to the O&M fund. And so this is just a smart thing to do, and really is reflective of her work and the fact that this isn't a good use of the O&M funding, and really not what those funds are for, which is for permanent archiving of county records. And I think once this gets shifted back, we're going to be able to get back in the mode of providing better services to other county agencies to permanently store their records. The rest of my PLRs are just moving, are all sort of net out at zero, moving costs around between lines. And am I missing anything, Jennifer?
No, well, just that number 5 has already been approved.
Gotcha.
But for this purpose of the worksheet, we left it as is because it was already presented that way. It was a timing thing. So
yes. So happy to answer any questions about any of that.
So for myself, jump to the move from O&M. That's kind of a necessity, not a PLR. If we want to stay out of trouble, if we're only using 5% of the funds, we have to account for them properly. Or am I misunderstanding that?
We already agreed to shift that back. We did that last.
So that's not a PLR. That's the maintenance, right?
Done.
right, it's just showing on this as a PLR because that's the way it was turned in, and So I've already moved it over into maintenance in our like master spreadsheet. But for this purpose, it's showing as a PLR. Yeah.
I mean, if it was up to me to define maintenance, I'll follow Vicky's lead and define it for you.
Vicky, set it off.
As you know, voters pamphlet, we don't have any choice. I mean, there's a law that says I'm going to produce a voters pamphlet, so that I would say is a given, and the postage fees and licensing, again, is sort of no choice. I mean, I think QLIS is optional. I think staffing and financial services is critical but optional. So that would be my view.
And Patty, your PLRs are in number of your priority, is that correct?
Correct.
Well, I don't want to say I agree because, at the commission, I'll just say that I believe that the postage is a maintenance. I believe that the pamphlet is also a maintenance. I don't have any questions on those at all.
I think we already agreed on the on QLIS.
Absolutely. We already told him to. So I think the need to order bank checks. One question that we probably have amongst ourselves, I think it's maintenance when it's the absolute required training. But what do you commissioners think about that?
Can you point where are you looking?
Let's see. We'll go back here.
Restoration of training funds
Yeah.
for 1,063.
That was some of it here. Let's see. Yeah, restore
Oh, I see where you're at.
funds to complete certification.
Can you give us a little more detail on that, Patty?
That in 30. Oh, so that's in elections. Am I
Yeah,
correct, Jennifer?
election certification, education.
Yeah. So the state requires that election staff be certified by the state, and so there are training hours required to maintain certification. We have to, for our staff to be certified, they have to attend training, and that costs.
And is that that's the $525 one or the $1,063 one?
So the 1,063, sorry to interrupt, Patty, that is under financial services.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so that's Leo. Do you want to talk about that?
So I think doesn't the travel, all of that net out to a negative amount between the various programs?
Looks like you have it at -300 in your in the one PLR, if I'm reading that correctly. A $300 decrease for training and certification.
So for my training, it's just for my CPA license. But the net for the total for the auditor's office, it comes out to a negative amount.
Yeah, on the training dues and registration, Leo, you increased it by 1,063, restoring of training funds. Now, I know that we already, last year, we made sure that your training and the transition trainings were considered maintenance. And I I guess wondering what the difference is this year. Is that the increase in the cost of your training? Is there other training that has been added into that under training dues and registrations? Last year, 2130, this year 3193. Restoration of training funds. So I think it sounds like there was a historic training that we didn't maybe cover the last time.
So I believe in 2020 there was a budget amendment, but we didn't the budget process so wipe that out. So this is we didn't increase it from 2020. That makes sense.
You didn't because there was a budget amendment?
Right, in 2020 there was a budget amendment.
That covered the rest of it. Okay, so we had already agreed to that. So I guess I'm saying that would be maintenance, in my opinion, not a PLR.
Right.
If the other commissioners agree. Patty, you can vote on this one too.
Okay, thanks. I'm a yes.
And Patty already said this, commissioners, but PLRs 6, 7, and 8 just about cancel out. I actually, when I ran through, I think I picked up a negative number twice because I actually got a negative amount, but I think they just about cancel out. So I would recommend moving 6, 7, and 8 all to maintenance since they, the net effect is about 0. Okay.
Well, that's just one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, since it's a wash, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Not sure how much of the travel for the legislative session you'll get this year, but we'll see.
Well, we'll see.
So, Patty, I don't see anything in here. Are you still working with Frank on this is my name for it, not yours? I'm just throwing it out there, a type of Deputy Chief Financial Officer Succession Planning position. Are you still working with Frank to bring that forward?
Yes. With the timing of the preliminary budget and the discussions about that happened sort of after we had submitted this, so it's not showing up here. So yes, those discussions are ongoing.
Okay, hopefully we can bring that in front of the commission so we can have that discussion sooner rather than later.
We'll make that happen.
Yeah, okay. I'll wait to see that. But when we have that conversation, want to know how that kind of corresponds to the transition for retirement position that's in here as well.
Right. Unless we just cancel her retirement.
You're going to have to clear that with Paige.
Not brave enough. Commissioner Trask, I think I'll nominate you to go and have that conversation.
Yeah, I'm not having that conversation.
I've been talking to her. It's not going very good, but I think she's committed to retiring.
So with that being said, on PLR, so PLR number 1, is everyone in agreement that should move to maintenance since there's no choice on that?
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Okay, and then on number 2, the transition planning for retirement. To me, this seems like a definite maintenance. But
I think we need to keep it as a PLR though until we have the further discussions about the next phase. Commissioner Shitty was bringing that up as well.
Yeah, no, I don't think that can be decided until we have the full picture.
okay.
I would agree.
Okay, and then number 3, 4, and number 5 was already approved.
Right.
3 and 4, the copier maintenance and the copier lease and the postage.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
everybody's in agreement on 3 and 4, move those to maintenance.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And we'll run through the overall budget requests quickly. The overall auditor's office budget request was $1,727,262. The maintenance level is $1,626,600, and the difference is $100,662. With right now the only open PLR being the transition or the succession planning PLR2. So should we move on and do the well, I guess we don't have any more. And 104, the auditor's O&M fund, that was the move of the position. So
Right.
So I think we're done.
Thank you, commissioners.
That was relatively painless.
Thank you.
That was quite painless. And we'll be back. I'll have a discussion with Frank and we'll get something more to you shortly.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the prosecuting attorney scheduled at 10 o'clock, and I don't believe that they are on here. They are not. So does everybody want to take a break or want me to call them and see if they can get on early? How would you like to handle that?
Let's just pause real briefly and give them a call.
Okay.
Hop on.
Okay, I'll be back in a minute.
Everyone back.
So we have the 2021 budget workshop for the prosecutor, and we have with us Mike Dorcy and Darcy Ward and Tim Whitehead. So go ahead and take it away, Mike, and prosecutor's office.
All right, let me see if I can move to a different screen here. Actually, you're sharing the screen. I was going to try to pull up, although it's hard to read. So we've submitted a preliminary budget. We followed up with the PLRs as requested, or PLR. I think for us, there was one document. And the, I guess the first, if I'm opening it up, I'd ask if the commission has any questions about what we've submitted or how it's been submitted.
Can you just explain the DSHS?
The child support?
Yeah.
So let's see. The PLR that we did submit does reflect the some changes to the child support contract that we have, and that is based on a couple of things. First of all, the state on their own gave us an indication that they were, so the state's budget runs from July 1 to June 30. They had given an indication that based upon revenue forecasts, they were cutting 15% out of this year, and that direction came, after July 1st anyway, and didn't become official until a while later. But the direction was pretty clear. They were cutting 15% out of that state revenue, and that they would be cutting they would be maintaining that 15% cut into next year. So since the budget year for the state had already started, that was 7.5% from July 1 to December 31, and then a full 15% to plan for 2021. We were able to figure out a way to absorb the 7.5% cut to the end of 2020. But we do have to make some changes to the way we have our budget structured going forward, based upon the reduction in revenue from the state on that contract side, as well as the fact that there's some fairly clear indication and been discussions for the last couple of years on the WAPA side amongst the Prosecutors Association, and particularly the WAPA Support Enforcement Project, which handles the DSHS contractual issues, that the caseloads being what they are, with changes that have been made over the last several years with medical and other stuff, don't really support maintaining full staffs in every single county, but they still want to maintain a local presence. And so there's a plan in place that will ultimately in the near future is expected to result in essentially a regionalization approach where most likely for us, what it would mean is that Thurston County would supply the attorney for handling the child support enforcement cases that arise in Mason, Thurston, and Lewis, and potentially Grays Harbor County as well. So there would continue to be some presence at a staff level for working cases and doing the DNA tests and all that, but some of that attorney money is dwindling and expected to be phasing out. And so what we've done to plan for that is taken the two, I think, as you know, from the years of doing this, we have two deputy prosecutors who carry full criminal caseloads, essentially full criminal caseloads in the district court, which is an absolute minimum necessary to handle that caseload amount. But they also were partially funded through this state contract in order to handle the child support duties, child support enforcement duties that arise from the contract with the state. What this budget reflects is moving those attorneys out of that individually. In other words, no longer having part of their salary and benefits in the county prosecutor budget and part of their salary and benefits out of the child support enforcement budget, which always resulted in the county paying them and then getting reimbursed for the portion of their salaries and benefits that are funded, that are serving that contract. The services rendered on the contract will continue to be reimbursed by the state. And so the PLR that's submitted, that's what the 185 numbers are in the bottom section. We've built in essentially a half DPA, it's called a floater DPA, a line that we would need in order to reimburse the county to submit for reimbursement, depending on whoever is discharging those duties on the contract, which will continue to be done and continue to be reimbursed by the state. But in preparation for that funding being cut now and next year, and in the anticipation of it continuing to reduce, it was important to reflect my deputy prosecutors being county deputy prosecutors carrying a maximum criminal caseload in district court, and still having the option of submitting for reimbursement of that portion of their time that's spent on that caseload. And in reality, what that does is it frees us up also that it very well could be anybody who's available to handle those matters, and we would just be able to submit for reimbursement to the state. But it is based upon a half deputy prosecutor 1 level, both salary and benefits. So that's I don't know if that answered the question well, or if I just made it more confusing, but any follow-up questions, if I've made it more confusing, would be welcomed. But that's, so the PLR that we have submitted, the top portion just reflects the changes in medical, FMLA, and unemployment benefits, reflecting those full salaries moving. And then the bottom part is, it looks like the addition of a half DPA, but really what it is, it's in the child support budget, which is fully reimbursed from the state, and will only be, to the extent that it's used, will be fully reimbursed, if that makes sense, to some attorney in the office who happens to be handling that caseload for that particular month or quarter.
So if you don't mind, so it is an increase of 0.5, but it's a reimbursed cost.
Yes.
Okay. And now, but last year we had a line for the reimbursement somewhere, and so it's still an overall increase of 0.5.
It on paper, it looks like I mean, I hope Dorcy will speak up if I say it wrong. On paper, it doesn't just look like. On paper, it is an increase of 0.5 FTE for a deputy prosecutor. However, it's not an actual addition of a body. It's a change in the way the budget is structured. So it formerly was like 0.16 of one deputy and 0.8 of another deputy were in that child support side. So, and then we had the balance, the 0.2 and the 0.84 on the prosecutor side. So they were split pay. This reflects moving them out of the child support so that they're no longer split pay. It's a straight on the county prosecutor budget side. And then the addition of a 0.5 DPA in the child support budget only, the 185, that we can use to draw from to reimburse the county for services rendered on the contract to one or more of the deputy prosecutors in the office who might be servicing that contract. It also frees us up if necessary, if it becomes necessary as this continues to move forward, to be able to contract with somebody. For example, if we were going to contract with Thurston County to handle what little bit of caseload we're having on the child support enforcement side, to be able to reimburse their attorney from the state child support contract and not have it touch the county budget. So really, the way I look at it is just it's a 0.5 DPA or FTE increase, but it's really just an empty spot that's a pot that's used to reimburse the county for any time and resources that are spent servicing that contract.
So either way, it could be an addition then. You could still use all your same people and use that contract. Right. Now, don't get me wrong, I have no issue with it.
Right.
The question that because I think it's necessary right now, the question that I'm going to have is just whether it's maintenance or request level.
Yeah, and
I am supportive of it. On the FT, the other though, the 17,000, that's just an increase on the books due to cost increase, right? So that's a maintenance, isn't it?
Yes.
Same with the unemployment.
Right.
The cable services, Supreme Court, and legislative updates. I think that's my opinion. Speaking to the other commissioners, I think that's also just a maintenance. Allocated motor pool maintenance is a maintenance. Bar association dues a maintenance.
Right.
The other ones are still under the reimburse if we decide to do it. That's right. What I think, commissioners.
Yeah, and so if I could address that real quick, I think that's right. In terms of the way those have been characterized, I think that in all fairness, and that's why that's on the PLR and not necessarily the other stuff, which is basically maintenance level increases. The items on the PLR do reflect some changes to the structure of the budget that I think are necessary, frankly, and important for moving forward to the future, because The day is coming where that child support money is going to continue to decrease. And that's not necessarily based on state budget forecasts or revenue issues, which might accelerate the rate at which it's coming, but it's more based on changes in the law over the last decade that have had significant impacts on reducing the caseloads, and the state taking a look at, whether it makes sense to continue to fund a full FTE attorney in every single county for those counties that have pretty low case numbers. And the problem is if we don't start preparing for it, when that money goes away, I'm going to potentially lose a deputy prosecutor FTE, and I can't afford to do that. I can't have the district court
Explain that one a little deeper, because maybe we should be maybe you are preparing for it by doing this, but maybe we should also be looking at being prepared for that in another manner too.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit deeper, please.
Well, like I said, I have two attorneys who between them handle our entire district court caseload for a year, which results in, and this isn't, I don't mean to talk out of school. There's real important reasons why they're different, but it results in certainly a lot more cases per attorney than, for example, are limited on the defense side. They're pretty maxed out, in other words, on handling the caseload out of district court. But historically, the county really is only funding one of those positions, or a little more than one, because the split pay with child support has accounted for basically another attorney. So as that state money structure changes, if I don't make changes, then the county funding for one of my deputy prosecutors, not that I expect this to happen overnight, but for example, if they called up and said, turn the spigot off, the state contract is going to be regionalized, we're going to send an attorney from Thurston County, and you don't get the money anymore.
Okay, now I get it. That was the part I was waiting to see. What
I would lose an attorney if that happened tomorrow, and so I need to start preparing for that. This year, as I talked about the state budget, we actually always have done a budget for the state that has to be approved. Dorcy always does that. This year, as we were waiting for the call for the budget, so Dorcy finally called up and asked them, like, hey, when do you need a budget, and when are we going to get the instructions? And they said, well, we're not going to have you do a budget this year. They just sent a letter saying you're going to get 15% less than you did last year, so figure out how to live with it. So this is our attempt at both figuring out how to live with it and also protecting, the deputies, the deputy FTEs in the office from that funding that is subject to being reduced and is expected to continue to be reduced, if that makes sense.
If you're asking if there should be maintenance or otherwise, it feels like it should be maintenance.
Well, I could make a strong case that it's maintenance, but I think in fairness, I can see the argument that it's a request also, because it is, like I said, it's an attempt to maintain the minimum staffing that we have going into the future, and it's pretty easy to see that that's going to be necessary in the very near future, whether it's next year, whether it's 2021 or 2022. I don't have that sharp of a read on the tea leaves, but it's coming. And so that's why we've sort of, for the first time in really decades, we've sort of restructured the way the budget is. And that's why we put the information that we did on the policy level request form. But it really is an attempt to maintain the service level that we have with the funding that there is.
Jennifer, I'm supportive of this. I have no issue with it whatsoever. I think it's necessary. But in fairness for everybody else that we're dealing with, how do you see this? Can you see this as being considered a maintenance, or do you think we need to
Yeah,
fair.
I see it as being considered a maintenance, and honestly, it was difficult for me to put this into budget level 3 and show it in a way, show the PLRs in a way that would be understandable. And I mean, it's just kind of a confusing.
I can see how
concept.
it's difficult.
Yeah.
But you have no problem with us facing the other departments and explaining that this for sure is a maintenance.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with it. I mean, you know, it's one of those unfunded mandates that is coming our way. So, you know, it's
Then
I mean,
I'm
we
supportive.
definitely have the workload. And
Then I'm supportive of moving over to maintenance.
okay, and the other commissioners as well.
Yeah, I concur. I think it's just a wise repositioning, and you know, as Commissioner Netherland said, Mike, you know, let's continue to have the conversation into next year about, you know, how we kind of better insulate ourselves from continued changes to that particular funding source, and make sure that we're, you know, keeping ourselves in position to be able to not lose ground in your office. So let's keep that conversation going.
You bet.
For the other commissions, I want to remind them, Kevin will remember this, but in the years past, you know, it's this department that has freely given up things to help us to make that budget come to the end. So agreeing with what Commissioner Schutte just said, this is one department we need to stay in front of because we kept them pretty tight. And they were always welcoming and helpful to us when we were in trouble. So
I don't know how welcoming they were about it, but
you know, it's funny. I hate to do this on public, but Mike has the habit. He has to beat you up for a second. That's just the way it is. But then you come back and say, "I want to help," and he always helps. And it's just kind of the payment you have to pay to for him to do that. That's all.
Yeah, I do resemble that. That's fair.
He has to argue at least a little.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
that
you
natural
always-
inclination I have to argue with authority.
But you always come and help with it when we needed it. Always.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember one year you just gave up 15 grand cash for us so we could make that budget. That was a year that everything went bad on revenue coming in.
Yeah.
That's how tight we were. The prosecuting attorney's office gave up 15 hard cash to make it for us.
and it was really impressive, but a little concerning that he did it in a brown paper bag.
Yeah.
Hey now.
Yeah, be careful.
Good luck getting that from Mike.
Awesome. Well, any other questions?
I do have one. So on the motor pool maintenance, so those rates should match the budget level 3 exactly. So I see this, whopping $79 that's outstanding that I don't think should be moved to maintenance. I think I don't know what that is. But
if maybe I put that in the wrong spot. When we got the rollout, it added it. So I think I might have had it in a different, because there was a bunch of new line items added. So I don't know if inadvertently I put it in a different motor pool one, or if it just, because that was the only motor pool one that showed up as an increase. The other ones were just absorbed. So I'm not really sure. So I just tried to explain that we had to.
okay.
Because the other motor pool cost that I put in didn't end up in that column, only that $79.
Yeah, the other ones matched what the budget level 3 rates were. So
Okay.
If you're okay with that, I don't think that you will need it. We can just remove that out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
It's fine.
Okay. Great.
Maybe Mike will give me $100 to pay it if we have to.
In a brown paper bag, apparently.
Okay, and then everything else is part of that PLR 1, and we'll move it over into maintenance. Correct? Out of so we have 1,870,000. Sorry.
I saw all the rest of it moved over. That's what I thought we.
Okay. Yeah, just making sure that that's what was agreed on.
Yep.
And then we don't have any PLRs in Fund 110 or 114. So
Correct.
I think we're done.
Okay.
Wow.
Thanks, Darcy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioners.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jen.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is 10:11. And we have the treasurer at 10:35 and she's not on yet, I don't believe. Would you like me to give her a call or do you want to take a break?
I think maybe call her.
Please.
Okay. Okay, I'll give her a call. Hold on a few minutes.
And then maybe we can let the courts know we're running a little bit early too.
We can have Mackenzie or Diane maybe give them a call.
Yeah.
We have Lisa Frazier with the Mason County Treasurer's Office, and we're here for her 2021 budget workshop. So you're on, Lisa.
All right, good morning. Looks like Jennifer has the revenue budget up first, and I know that you had some questions when she presented to you last week. I went back over these numbers and I was listening in. So I went back over the numbers, and obviously when we do this in July, it's kind of hard to predict where we're going to be, especially in the COVID environment. So under local retail and sales and use tax, I had listed 6 million at the time. And I see that Jennifer's numbers was 6.2, and I think that is reasonable. And so I would agree with those numbers at this point.
The 6.25 million.
Yes.
Okay.
The criminal justice. I also agree with your numbers there.
The 750.
The 750. My concern is you never know what the state legislature is going to do in 2021. We may have to revisit this money.
Jennifer, and Lisa, how is it just, I mean, is there some indication that you have to, or is it just conservative budgeting, Lisa, on your side, to prefer the 600,000?
So obviously, again, when you do this in July, it's really hard to know exactly where our collections are for the year. I wasn't sure if there was going to be a special session at that time as well. And so you will always find your county treasurer on the conservative side.
No complaints for that. How are we looking year to date on that revenue?
For local sales tax, we're right on track and probably going to exceed.
Yeah.
I think with everybody being home and purchasing online, that sales tax is coming to the county. And so we're seeing increases there.
I was more interested in the criminal justice.
Yeah, so criminal justice is state money, and we are always tied to their budgets. And the 750 is what we're on track to receive this year.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. The next one was the payment in lieu of taxes from the Bureau of Land Management. This is federal money that comes in every year. My numbers, I'm not comfortable with going to 415,000 in 2020. We in 2019 and 2020 we did receive some back pay from them, so our revenue numbers are a little higher than what they would actually be sending, and I'm more conservative at the 315,000 instead of the 415. The 2020 revenue is only 26,000 more than was budgeted in 2020, so I'm not comfortable going to 415,000.
Are you comfortable anywhere in between?
No. 289 and 26 is 315,000. So
you're suggesting we stay at 315,000?
I am suggesting we stay at the 315. You may be, I mean, you could do 325 maybe, and I would be okay with that, but not an additional 100,000.
And Jennifer, can you talk a little bit about how you came up with the 415,000?
I believe that may have been Frank's change, but I don't have my notes in front of me. I can get back to you on that.
So I think the next one was interest earnings. Jennifer, if you want to scroll down. So we had budgeted 800,000 in 2019 for 2020 before the feds took the interest rates to zero. And their long-term stance is that they won't be increasing interest rates in 2021. So I don't agree with any budget level 3 prediction that we're going to get to 750,000 in 2021. In fact, we're not even going to get to 400,000 this year. So I'm not comfortable with the 750. I don't know where that number came from. And I'm more concerned that I'm not going to make a $500,000 in interest next year, and would be more comfortable with it at 400,000.
Well, to date, we are through September, we are at 387,000. And yeah, again, I think that the 800,000 is too high as well, or the 750, I guess, that we have next year in budget level 3. But I believe 400 would be too low, since I mean, we do have more money in the bank. So even if the interest rates are lower, we're gonna, earn maybe a little bit more if we have more money in the bank, possibly.
So Lisa, would you feel more comfortable about 450? Or
you can leave it at 500, but I have concerns about meeting that.
Yeah,
I don't think taking it to 450 or 500 is really going to do much. I'm definitely more comfortable between the $400,000 and $500,000 range, but 750, I have no clue where that number would have come from.
How about the next one, the timber or rent lease timber?
So before we move on, are we good with 500,000 for the interest?
500.
500, okay, thank you.
So for DNR timber, obviously, I agree with the 250. I went back and looked at that. We're on track to get that for 2020.
Okay.
These are numbers we always revisit during budget time, so.
So there's a 300, we're back up a little bit, and we're looking at a $350,000 difference, correct? Just to be double sure, the interest and earnings staying at 5, and at the payment in lieu of tax staying at 315.
Yeah, that yeah, we'll move the sales tax to 6.25 million, the criminal justice to 750. The payment in lieu of tax will stay at 315,000, and the interest and other earnings will stay at 500,000. The DNR Timber Trust will move up to 250,000 if the commission is in agreement.
Sounds good to me.
I am.
I would also note that in the property taxes, the original budget asked for a 1% increase. I know there was some discussion about maybe not taking that in 2021. So there is that, not that it's a whole lot of money. But I also don't have the assessor's figures for new construction or anything in there. So I would imagine that your property tax revenue could be slightly higher than what's budgeted here. But again, I don't know what that'll be until the assessor has numbers for you.
You think that it will be higher, Lisa, than the 10?
I think it'll be slightly higher.
How much higher? What are you comfortable?
I'm not comfortable telling you any amount. I just want until you have numbers from the assessor's office for new construction. I have no clue.
Because I was thinking it might be slightly lower.
If you don't take the 1%.
Yeah, because the 1% was in there.
Okay.
And I know we're growing a lot, but the new construction usually doesn't amount to, 100,000 plus, or,
Okay. So
even at the rate we're going right now, because there's huge construction happening this year, and next year you've got 140 home units with another 300 unit apartment complex that are scheduled to begin this spring.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with Lisa. I would want to check with the assessor on that before we even begin to guess at changing the number. So I can check with them.
Yeah, I'm good, Holton, until we have that cleared up.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah, I just wanted to bring the conversation up because I don't know exactly what that number will look like, especially if you don't take the 1%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did you have any other questions revenue wise?
I do not.
We move on to expenditures then.
Okay.
So on the expenditure side, for the treasurer's office, the department asked for for 2021 is 870,764. And the budget level 3 is 864,170 with a difference of $6,594. And it looks like your PLRs are a number of your what you consider to be your importance of significance, or
yeah. So you know, really the new, most of this is all maintenance. The $4,000, that is the annual maintenance and licensing fee for TerraScan, our tax software, increases annually. I haven't asked for an increase in several years in order to make budget cuts. So I did include an increase for that. It does increase 10% a year. The new annual fee for the QLIS kiosk system for 2021 is the $3,250. And then the $275, which is a small amount of money, I know, is due to an increase in interest rates prescribed by the state that we have to pay out on property tax refunds. And then I just made a few adjustments to kind of offset those increases.
So, Jennifer, the QLIS, the fee for QLIS on here, is that lower than the other two offices had presented?
Yeah, it is. I believe the other offices presented 3,600. The auditors was split up 3 ways. And then the assessors, I thought, was 3,600.
So somebody's is right.
So I only asked for $3,250. I already had money in that line item. I did not need the full $3,600.
Okay.
Oh, as an increase, that makes sense. So you're just increasing it to what you really think it's going to be.
Correct.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Didn't ask for the whole thing. I already got some money in there. A whole whopping $650.
And is that the only thing that you pay out of there, Lisa?
The other equipment maintenance is the annual copy machine, which is split between current expense and my treasurer's M&O budget.
Everything I see in here is maintenance. I don't see anything that continues over.
Agreed.
Yep.
And we agree with the revenue numbers that's presented, except for we'll look at maybe something for new construction if and when we have some numbers.
Right, property tax.
Right.
Great. And yeah, there's no PLRs for Fund 120 or 180.
Right.
So with that, I think we are done. All of the PLRs are moving into maintenance. Is that what I'm hearing?
But I think.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Lisa.
And we have Renee and Patsy from the courts that have entered the waiting room. So I just admitted them. Good morning. So I'll give Jim Madsen a call and let him know we're ready and be right back. Colep. And we have also on Jim Madsen. And then Patsy is joined for the 2021 budget workshop for Superior Court, Therapeutic Court, and Juvenile Court.
Just so you know, Jennifer, Robin is not with me, and I don't believe she's on yet.
Oh, okay. We'll wait for her then.
I think we have Darth Vader on.
Thank you, everybody, for waiting. We do have Robin Lockwood now, and we have an unidentified person. Oh, I think they're gone. Never mind. So do we want to start with Juvenile Court or Superior Court?
I'm good with whatever.
Okay, and I'm not sure if Randy is back or Commissioner Netherland. It looks like he is.
I'm here.
Okay, great. So I think everybody's ready then?
Yep.
Great. So we have the 2021 budget workshop for Superior Court, Therapeutic Court, and Law Library and Juvenile Court services. So with that, I'm going to let Jim start. Jim Madsen.
Sure, thank you. I'll be really brief. I'm sure that the Superior Court's got more to talk about than I do. Really, I have one PLR, and it's on the expense and revenue side out of the mental health tax or the treatment sales tax. And basically what it is, Jennifer and I have talked about this. It's the way we kind of calculate a person's position and their medical, that coinciding with an increase due to contracts and that kind of stuff. I'm asking for an additional $5,992 out of the mental health tax budget to pay for and continue with the half of an FTE for the Family Recovery Court to provide guardian ad litem services. And I expect that we probably won't need all of the $5,992. Again, the person that's currently in that spot doing that work is just an employee only in medical. But per the request of the commissioners for the budget, we calculated it at the highest level, which I think was like employee and family. And so that's where most of that $5,992 comes from. So that's my one main request as far as the budget goes. And then the other thing that I'd like to bring up, I didn't see that Kelly Frazier was on, but I'd just like to make a pitch for the detention center. The last couple of years, I've submitted to get some work done on the outside of that building, and potentially maybe need to look inside the walls, but the outside of the building is starting to rot away in a lot of places, and the siding needs to be looked at. We've got some fungus and mushrooms growing out of that, and so I would just make a pitch to you guys as you talk with Mr. Frazier about some facilities needs and capital improvements that the detention center gets looked at as a part of that. So that's really what I have for you guys. And so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
So I just want to add to that, Jim, that your total PLR requests are -$3. So
yeah.
So really, you didn't even, in my opinion, need to present. I mean, you're definitely welcome to.
Sure. Well, and I understand that, but I also understand this is coming from a sales tax and a different pot of money, and there might be a different, mechanism to receive some of those funds, and so that's why I brought that up. So thank you.
Jim, first off, appreciate the presentation this morning. On the TST side, have you had those conversations with the folks over in public health, and they're kind of aware of everything? Or
well, yeah, and actually that's kind of what led to the PLR is when I talked to them a couple months ago, when we were first putting our budget together, I requested the full amount, and they came back and said, we can only put in our budget what you received last year. And so through that conversation, it was kind of decided that it would need to be a PLR to ask for anything on top of what we got last year.
Gotcha. But they are aware of the
request. They should be. But I will certainly get them back in the loop again, just in case.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. And then I do think we should take a look at those facility needs and look at how we get those addressed over at the detention center. So I appreciate you bringing that up too.
Yeah, thanks.
I also wanted to add to that on your PLR ask, the 5992. So I do have that in maintenance level because the budget that was originally put in for the TST sales tax money, I believe was 800,000, and I increased that to 875,000 based on the current expense sales tax going to 6.25 million. I believe it's 14% of that 6.25 million that goes to the treatment sales tax. So with that increase in their revenue, they can justify and fully fund the $5,992 ask. So just wanted to state that.
I'm very curious to see the mushrooms growing out of the building. You're going to have to show me where that is.
Come on over. I joke about it, but we do have young people over there that as a county, we are saying that they are in our custody. We are essentially their parent while they're over there, and we need to have a safe place. And one, it doesn't look all that great, but two, I am curious on what's going on behind the scenes, and I just think it needs to be addressed.
Right. I wonder what's helping them.
Hopefully nothing. Yeah, hopefully nothing.
And Commissioner Trask, this is Judge Cobb. The mushrooms have been an issue that have sprouted up every so often in my longer term with the county. So this is not something that's new this year. It's historic as well.
Is that a pun, Your Honor?
I would never engage in a pun. Thank you.
Well, it could
I'm just a fun guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could have done much worse than that, Judge Cobb. So I appreciate the restraint.
And they do sprout a little more this time of the year, by the way. So
Is the season, right?
yeah.
Anything you can get WSU Extension over to look at for their MasterCard.
I don't think they're chanterelles, but I haven't looked that hard.
Couples.
So that's all I have. I'd like to defer the rest of the time to the Superior Court.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thanks.
So that's already moved over to maintenance, correct?
It is, yes. I mean, I can definitely move it back if you want to discuss it more.
I don't.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll share the Superior Court screen. And with that, we're ready to go with Superior Court.
Okay. Well, this is Judge Goodell, and as you know, Judge Cobb is also present. Judge Finley is currently on the bench dealing with a matter, and so I think that hopefully she's going to be able to join us at some point, but it could be that she's just not going to be able to do that. So I'll start with the general Superior Court budgets, and then I know that we have Ms. Cullip, who is also present, and we'll move on later to the therapy court portion of that. I think that an explanation needs to be made with regard to the $4,185, or which is the combination of the increase for the bailiff of $3,859, and we add also the related expenses dealing with the benefits, and that relates to the previous discussion with the commission about our bailiffs as we look to this wave of criminal cases that have been on hold for a period of 6 months. It was the total amount of excluded period that applied to our criminal cases. And now the excluded periods are ending, and we will be needing to resolve these matters. And so we are expecting that even on a regular one jury trial, we need 2 bailiffs in order to manage that, given that we're using 2 courtrooms just to get one trial done. And I recognize that Building 10 is still under construction, and we fully expect that as it becomes available, we will be utilizing that and hopefully be able to do double trials, one in the main courtroom and one there. We're only able to do one trial at a time right now. However, that being said, the cases are moving along and are being resolved, and we have not had many trials as a result of that. But again, we're still in an excluded period right now. An excluded period, when I say that, refers to someone who's in custody has 60 days, which is the right to trial within 60 days, and someone out of custody has a right to trial within 90 days. That's from the date of arraignment. An excluded period excludes, for calculation, a period of time. Okay, and so the Supreme Courts have continued to add to the excluded period, and I just had a conversation with Chief Justice Stevens last Friday, and she indicated there will be no more additional excluded periods coming from the Supreme Court. So what we're looking at now is where it's going to be, and so everything that I've been telling you about since June, I think is going to be coming to fruition down the road here. So, but the point being is that additional bailiff is at the increased salary, which has already been approved, from $15 to $17 an hour, and the anticipated additional amount of time that we'll be using bailiffs during 2021. As far as the general budget goes, that really covers the one issue on that. I do have more comments I'd like to make, but do we have any questions about the general budget?
Just the other commissioners, sounds like we need to find a way to keep track of that for the future. If there's other COVID monies or anything, even though it's going into the next year, it's going to show that it's budgeted now, but we're budgeting because of the COVID. So we need to find a way to capitalize on that, I think, if we get an opportunity.
Well, I agree with that, Commissioner. I think that's a really good point. Also, probably going to have the same issues in district court. So being mindful of that impact on both parts of the court there, I think is really important.
I'd even go further and say that because of the COVID issue, I think I would consider this maintenance. It's a have to. What do you guys think of that?
I think it's definitely maintenance. And I'm hoping that in January, we do get a little bit more assistance from maybe another batch of CARES money. Can't guarantee it, but we've heard that there's talk. But yeah, I agree. I think it should be maintenance, and it is necessary.
There's rumors and rumors of rumors.
I hate rumors. Especially now, I think.
What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, no, I think we have to. I mean, I think we're going to be chasing this backlog for a while, and so I think we need to fund those things.
And then hopefully when we get caught up, we can have another discussion to see what's necessary, what's needed.
Please, Judge, keep that in your mind when we're talking in the future about this being an addition so that we can make sure that when it's not needed, it comes back out. But it sounds like the commission is in favor of it being a maintenance and not a request any longer.
Okay, thank you. There's a couple of things that are happening that I want the commission to be apprised of. One is the Uniform Guardianship Act, and fortunately, again, Judge Finley's not with us, but I can touch on some of the areas that we are concerned about that will occur in 2021. The reason I point out Judge Finley is because she sits on a state commission of judges that deal with in this area of law, and is much more on top of this pending legislation and implementing it that will begin on January 1 of 2021. The UGA, which is Uniform Guardianship Act, deals with a total rewrite of how our guardianship processes are going to proceed. Included in that is what we used to call non-parent custody or third-party custody cases. That's the typical situation where you have grandparents raising grandson, okay? And they come to court and say, mom and dad are not capable of raising grandson, and so we would like to have court authority to do that, and that was the non-parent custody action that they did. That is being replaced by the Uniform Guardianship Act, okay? It's structured much differently than what we've been accustomed to, but the significant differences that I want to point to the commission are primarily in three different areas. At the onset of a petition in this matter, the court is to appoint what's called a court visitor. This is the person that basically goes and finds the parents, reports back to the court, has other steps that they also have to take, which is basically information gathering for the benefit of the court. Not like a guardian ad litem, like we've been accustomed to hearing in the past. Guardian ad litem still occur, but that is a new position. It is an unfunded position that we are, as we see it right now. It's going to be something that we're going to have to appoint somebody. They have to be qualified, and somewhere the money has to come from in order to pay for that. Right now, it is unfunded as far as we have been able to determine. The other position is, on every case, when a minor is 12 years old, and Judge Cobb, correct me if I'm misspeaking any of this. Again, this is Judge Finley is more up on it, but 12 years or older, the court will is to appoint an attorney for the minor. Again, we're not sure whether funding where the funding is going to be coming for that as well. And then finally, if the parents are indigent, the court is also to appoint an attorney to represent the parent or parents in the matter as well, and even if they're not indigent in certain circumstances. Those are three areas of significant positions that are currently unfunded by the statute or anything that we're aware of. And so we will be appointing, and we may very well have it come back to the commission as we work through trying to figure out how these are going to be financed, and maybe address that in some sort of a supplemental request.
Is that going to, Your Honor, is that going to be through you, or will we be doing an increase in the public defender's line?
That, in all likelihood, I would anticipate Office of Public Defense, OPD, provides the indigent parent appointment in our dependency side of things. And so we're not sure if it's going to be similarly dealt with here. We're not sure if it's going to come out of our local public defense. Frankly, we're not certain where it's coming from. It could be that the court visitor is something is on the court, and it could be that these attorneys are going to be something through the local public defense or OPD. We really don't know that. Currently, we do have a budget for guardian ad litems, and those are for typically are in the areas of a guardianship for a person who's lost their capacity, or even possibly in a child custody matter, we sometimes will appoint, and then that will and have it paid by the county. Call it paid by the county, comes out of our budget on our guardianship line. It's not a very large line in that. I think we're at like $2,500 on that.
That's what I thought. I was just looking for that. I was thinking, there ain't no money there. I thought I remembered that. Not to do what you're talking about.
But this is probably this definitely is a much more significant appointment than that, because that's a discretionary appointment to some degree, depending upon a person's ability to pay. This is an appointment in every case, and we have a considerable amount of non-parent custody cases that are petitioned every year, and many that are pending right now, and so. All of those I'm anticipating are going to have to be addressed as well, the pending ones as well as the new ones. So those are the things on the horizon I'm not certain about. So
thank you for the heads up on that.
Okay, and then
this is Judge Cobb. Just to give you an idea, just as you're thinking, Commissioner Netherland, we run somewhere in the high 20s to as high as 40 non-parent custody cases a year. So it could be a significant hit.
Do you have an idea, just off the top of your head, how much this might cost?
I really don't. We're just learning about the statute, and we have to make a decision by the court on how we're going to be implementing the statute. Fortunate for us is that years ago we already separated out non-parent custodies from our normal dockets, and so we have a special docket for this. So at least we got that part already in our favor. But I'm not, until we dial down and try to figure out how we're going to implement it locally, which we really haven't done. We really don't have that sense yet. But as we start getting understandings of how this is playing out, we will certainly keep you apprised.
Okay, could you send me some information on that? I'd like to take it to WASAC to see if we can see what other counties are doing as well.
Yeah, and Your Honors, if you don't mind, if you could look at Kitsap and Thurston and see if they're contracting out, so we could maybe be prepared for that on the quick end. If not, we may have to look at an actual body for some of it, and that's not counting the public defender side.
Yes, and all the counties are just starting to grapple with these. these issues. And so we will, and we definitely already are, like I said, Judge Finley is very active in that committee that is judges from all over the state that are grappling with this thing, and she's been keeping us apprised as we're moving forward. And so we have some learning to do. So, but we will certainly keep you apprised, and we will certainly be looking to other counties, as we always do, to see how they're implementing things to make our implementation as efficient as we possibly can. There is something else I want to, go ahead. There's any more questions on that?
Oh no, I just said I appreciate your heads up and appreciate the watchful eye.
Okay. The other thing I want to bring to the commission attention is our ITA courts, involuntary treatment court. We right now are managing about 2 times the volume of the cases that we anticipated when we started this. The facility, which was created here in Shelton, downtown Shelton, originally it has 2 floors. Originally, we began with 1 floor. And we accept, excuse me, people that come into not our facility, but state's facility, from all over the state. And under the way that the system is managed in mental health, they just look for a facility that's appropriate, and then they place a person that's appropriate. As soon as that person comes into the facility, they are in our court's jurisdiction. Okay, they opened up the 2nd floor. Okay, and so we are currently our number of cases have escalated, has about doubled what our anticipation was going into this. This is all funded through a separate contract with the state. And we fully expect that when and the contract goes from January 1 to December 31. And so we fully expect that we are going to start our discussions with the state and start negotiating what it is that we're going to be needing. But so there'll be funding there, but it is going to adjust our budget, we anticipate, after the beginning of the year. With the additional revenue and the expenses associated with that. One of the critical components of that is that our treatment court is presided over by our Commissioner Sauerlander. And he's not quite full-time at this point, but it might be the situation that as a result of that, he will become full-time. We also have other commissioners that we utilize on a part-time basis to fill those voids as well. But I just want to let you know that that is something that may result in some sort of amendment down the road as we understand how we're moving forward in 2021. So any questions about that?
Judge, yeah, this is Kevin. Appreciate that feedback. This is a conversation that I've been having with Peter Jones as well on the public defender side. They take on a lot of work with this as well. And so we're not quite operational for a year yet. Probably March or April of next year will be a year. Is that about right?
Yes, that's correct.
And so, I one of the things that I've encouraged him to do, and I'll encourage you and the Superior Court team as well, is just keep tracking that, and as we see that increase, we have to entertain, given that the revenue does come in, we have to make sure that we're, appropriately staffing that on our side, since it doesn't come out of the county budget, but it does tap a county resource. And so, as you guys kind of work through those things, keep me posted on that. Those are conversations that I have regularly with the BH ASO as well. And so just kind of keep track and keep letting us know, and we'll continue to try to make sure that funding stays stable and that we use those resources appropriately.
Okay, thank you. And I can't speak on behalf of either public defense or the prosecutor's office, but keep in mind that when we have a hearing, we have a judicial officer, we have someone from public defense, and there's a deputy prosecutor there as well. So it affects all 3 departments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions or comments on that issue? Okay, good. And I do see that we have Judge Finley was able to come off the bench to come in. And Judge Finley, I've already talked about the UGA and talked about the 3 areas of concern that you and I talked about this morning. And I also explained to them that you are involved in a statewide committee, that you discuss this with other jurisdictions as well. Is there anything else that you would like to add to that?
You know, I don't really think so at this point. I think it's just a matter of letting people have a heads up that we have more costs and that we'll need to absorb in our budget.
Okay. There is just one other final thing I want to mention, and that is, and I recognize this is something that you guys are dealing with already, and I do appreciate the fact that you are dealing with it, and that is the ventilation system up in the main courtroom. And I can't overemphasize how important that is to us right now, as we are utilizing that the main courtroom, courtroom 204, and of course courthouse administration. We are concerned about the ventilation up there. We can't run our ventilation systems when we are in court, and we have a full room without ventilation. Everybody's appropriately distanced, but the ongoing concern is what, even with the masks on, what exposure we're causing when we don't have an appropriate ventilation system operating all the time that we're there. I recognize that the commission is working on that, and I appreciate you working on that. As I know that Frank has indicated, is that, as I already told you, that I made a run for some CARES Act funds for that, and then we were declined because this is an ongoing issue with our court, not something that was caused by the pandemic. So, that is really all that I have from the general part of our Superior Court. And unless there's any other questions, I'd like to move on to the therapeutic courts.
Sounds good to me.
And Renee, I've seen you. There you are. Renee, you are there. Okay. Renee, I can go ahead and get started, or you can get started. If you wish to explain the figures, you probably could do a better job than I can, but it's up to you.
Okay, well, I can get started. So the budget that you see for expenditures are combined. So it's got the general fund, it's got the CJTA funding and our grant funding. It's all combined in there. So when you're looking at your figures here and it shows, say, the service providers where we have a decrease of $57,000, that is actually grant money that was reallocated into other lines to cover expenses for the next grant year, along with the UA fees where it went up $22,000. So that money was transferred from that service line. That's all grant money. So the adjustments that you see on here, all of it but $181 of it is all out of the grant money or our CJTA funds, where we got more money in our CJTA, less money for our grant for the second year. So it all balances out with decreases and increases, except for, like I said, that $181 that I could not quite get covered out of the general fund. And that comes out of a step increase and the benefits. I covered most of that, being able to move things around, except for the 181. I'm not sure. We do have the mandatory training through our grant that we have to do this coming year if COVID allows. So that's why the travel and training budgets are extremely high this year, is because we do have to go to DC on that. But that, again, is all paid out of the grant funding, along with some CJTAs, because they gave us training money. So we'll be able to send a couple extra people this year to that training.
Hey, Renee, when is that training?
It is in May. May 12th through the 16th. And at this time, it is in DC. Again, it's all going to depend on COVID case they canceled the one for the 2020 year. Judge Goodell, anything else? Did I miss something?
You hit on everything that I was going to talk about, and of course did a much better job. But any questions from the commission?
Just for clarity, Renee or Judge, of the increase of 8,000 or whatever, just a little bit over 8,000 there, is that all predominantly grant funded? Is it exclusively grant funded, or is there a portion of that 8,000 increase that's current expense? And if so, what's the breakdown?
It's $181 that would be current expense. The rest of it is CJT increase and incentives, which is our program fees, money's coming in that goes out, and incentives.
Gotcha.
Yeah. As a reminder to the commission, that CJTA increase, that's a supplemental budget that we received, that for $42,750. We just did that peer mentor contract with Northwest Resources. That's half of that. And I'm just pulling a mental blank right now, Renee. The other half is going into where?
It's going, most of it is going into the young adult track, and then the rest of it is going into support services, recovery support services.
Any other questions from the commission?
Nope, not
Okay.
for me.
Okay. Well, I think that we've covered everything that we wanted to cover. I'll just double check with Judge Finley and Judge Cobb. Is there anything else? And they're staying silent. Judge Cobb.
Not for me.
And this is Robin. I just wanted to clarify on the therapeutic court budget. And correct me if I'm wrong, Renee, but in the general fund grant and those lines, those budgets actually have decreased $34,717. And the CJTA expenses have increased $42,750. So the $8,000 that shows as a bottom line increase in her budget is actually all CJTA money.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. Well, that does. Not that I was going to lose sleep over the $183, but I appreciate that clarification.
And Renee, your increase in the CJTA funds, did you, I know you sent something over to mental health. Did you receive anything back confirming your dollar amount from them?
For the general fund monies?
Oh yeah, for the general fund, sorry. I was thinking of the TST, not the CJTA.
I did, but it was after budget was submitted. And they did give me a figure of 300, and I can't remember right off the top of my head, because you did call me and told me that you were going to go ahead and move it up to the 314,000 that I had requested.
Yeah, I went ahead and moved that into maintenance, because from what I can tell, the numbers they can be substantiated by the revenue if they budgeted 875,000 for their TST revenue.
Okay.
So commissioners, are you comfortable moving all of their expenditures into maintenance for therapeutic court?
I am.
And Commissioner Trask, you are as well? I thought I saw you nod your head. Okay. And Commissioner Netherland?
Yes.
You're comfortable with moving everything into maintenance, the 8,033?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then
Okay.
Law Library does not have any PLRs. So with that, I think we are done.
Please drive through. Don't forget your French fries.
Okay, well, thank you, Commission.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Okay, so I'll move everything over that we've talked about and have numbers for you next or tomorrow, actually, tomorrow before our budget workshops or after, however you want to do that.
So 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's good.
Works for me. Thank you.
great. Thank you.
Thank you.